Let's talk about something that should truly send chills down the spine of anyone in finance. Ransomware. Imagine this. You're responsible for billions of dollars. And then, poof, you can't access any of it. Your entire system is essentially being held hostage.
It's a terrifying scenario, and it's precisely why the finance industry has become a prime target for these attacks. These are institutions that hold our money, our personal information. It's the foundation of our economy.
Exactly. And in this deep dive, we're going to explore exactly why finance is so appealing to cyber criminals, what methods they're using to infiltrate these systems, and most importantly, how to safeguard ourselves and our businesses.
So the financial sector's vulnerability really boils down to a few key factors. First, the sheer amount of money involved. It's a lucrative target.
Right, the potential payout for hackers is just enormous.
Absolutely. But it's not just about direct financial gain. Think about the sensitive data these institutions store, customer financial records, social security numbers, addresses. It's a goldmine for identity theft and fraud on the dark web.
It's like a double whammy. They can cripple the institution financially while simultaneously stealing the keys to everyone's personal kingdoms.
Exactly. And then you have to consider the complexity of these financial systems. Think about all the entry points. Employees, customers, vendors, they're all accessing the network, creating multiple opportunities for weaknesses to be exploited.
It's almost like trying to defend a fortress with 1,000 doors.
A very good analogy. And even a small disruption to these critical systems can have a massive ripple effect. Just a few hours of downtime can halt trading, freeze transactions, trigger real chaos throughout the entire economy.
There's a recipe for chaos.
Absolutely. And of course, there's the reputational damage. A successful attack on a major financial institution makes headlines. It spreads fear, uncertainty. Ultimately, it can impact the entire industry and even the global economy.
So it's more than just a financial attack. It's an attack on trust and stability.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've established that the financial industry is a prime target. But how do these hackers actually get in? What are some of their most common tactics?
Well, they use a variety of methods, both simple and sophisticated. One of the most common is phishing emails. These are designed to look like they're from legitimate sources, like your bank.
We've all seen those emails urging us to click on a link or open an attachment, urgent action required, that sort of thing. What makes these so effective?
They prey on human psychology. They exploit our trust, our fear of missing out or facing consequences. One click on that malicious link can download ransomware directly onto your system, locking up your files.
It's like a Trojan horse in the digital age.
Another tactic is the use of exploit kits. These target weaknesses in software or operating systems. They scan for vulnerabilities, and once they find an opening, they can slip in undetected, install ransomware, steal data.
So how is that different from phishing? That sounds like they both involve a degree of trickery.
You're right, both exploit human error or system weaknesses. But phishing relies on social engineering, tricking people into taking action. Exploit kits target technical vulnerabilities automatically without any direct human interaction.
So it's more like finding a secret backdoor into the system.
That's a good way to put it. And then there are RDP attacks, where hackers remotely hijack your computer, gaining full control to install ransomware or steal data. Think of it like someone taking over the controls of your car while you're driving, but in the digital realm.
That's a pretty scary thought.
And it's not just those methods. Even seemingly harmless actions, like downloading free financial software or visiting compromised websites, can lead to infections.
It's like walking through a digital minefield. You never know what might trigger a dangerous download.
And let's not forget about insider threats. Disgruntled employees or even accidental data leaks can provide openings for these attackers.
A reminder that sometimes the greatest danger can come from within.
Absolutely. It's a multi-pronged attack, and hackers are constantly refining their methods.
So it all sounds pretty daunting. Is there any hope? Can financial institutions really combat this digital onslaught?
There is definitely hope. The threats are very real, but there are effective solutions. Both institutions and even individuals can take steps to bolster their defenses.
Okay, let's hear some good news. How can we fortify these digital fortresses?
One of the most important steps is to create air-gapped backups. Think of it as keeping a copy of your most valuable files on a hard drive that's completely disconnected from your computer and the internet. Even if your main system is hit, you'll have a clean copy to restore from.
Like keeping a spare key outside your house.
Exactly. Another powerful tool is immutability. Imagine writing something in permanent marker. It can't be erased or altered. Immutability does the same for your data, ensuring hackers can't tamper with your backups.
Immutability. That's an interesting concept. Can you give us a real-world example of how that would work in a financial setting?
Certainly. Imagine a bank using an immutable storage system for its transaction records. Even if hackers break in and try to encrypt or delete those records, the immutability feature would prevent that. The data would remain secure and they could recover it.
So it's like a digital vault that's completely tamper-proof.
Precisely. Then there's multi-factor authentication. This adds extra layers of security to accounts. Instead of just relying on a password, you might also need a code sent to your phone or a fingerprint scan. It makes it much harder for hackers to get in.
So creating multiple barriers to entry. What else can we do?
At Stonefly, we offer a wide range of solutions and services that are designed to help institutions of all sizes bolster their cybersecurity posture. We understand the unique challenges faced by the financial industry, and we're committed to providing tailored solutions to address those specific needs. If you're interested in learning more about how we can help protect your valuable assets, our team of experts is here to assist. You can reach us at sales@stonefly.com or visit our website, www.stonefly.com, for more information.
That's great to hear. And then, of course, there's anti-ransomware software. This acts like a digital bodyguard, constantly scanning for and blocking threats.
Exactly. It's like a security system for your computer that not only detects intruders, but actively prevents them from getting in.
So it's a combination of proactive measures and reactive defenses.
You got it.
All right, we've focused a lot on preventing these attacks. But what if an institution does get hit? What steps should they take?
That's where a solid incident response plan comes in. It's all about knowing exactly what to do to contain the damage, from isolating infected systems to contacting law enforcement and cybersecurity professionals.
Could you elaborate on that a bit? What are some key components of an effective plan?
An effective plan should include steps like immediately isolating affected systems, contacting law enforcement and cybersecurity experts, conducting a thorough investigation to figure out the scope of the breach, restoring systems from those clean backups, and, of course, implementing measures to prevent future attacks. Regularly testing your backups is crucial to ensure they can be restored quickly and effectively if you need them.
So preparation is key. The more you plan and practice, the better prepared you'll be to handle a crisis.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that paying the ransom is never a guarantee. You might not get your data back, and it often encourages further attacks.
So it's not a solution, it's more like fueling the fire.
A great analogy. It really highlights the need for proactive measures like the ones we've been discussing.
It's a good reminder that cybersecurity is an ongoing process, not a one-time fix.
That's right. The threats are always evolving, so staying informed and adapting your defenses is critical.
Okay, so we've talked about technical solutions, the human factor, incident response planning. What about the legal and regulatory side of things? Are there any specific laws that protect financial institutions and their customers from these threats?
Yes, there are. And there are actually a growing number of regulations and compliance standards specifically aimed at cybersecurity in the financial sector. One well-known example is the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. This European Union law sets strict rules for collecting, storing, and processing personal data, no matter where the organization is based.
So even if you're a U.S.-based financial institution with European customers, you still need to comply with GDPR.
That is correct. And here in the U.S., we have the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, or GLBA. This focuses specifically on data security in the financial industry. It requires institutions to protect the confidentiality and integrity of customer data.
So it's like GDPR, but for the U.S. financial sector. Are there any other major regulations we should be aware of?
There's also the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, or PCI DSS. This one's all about protecting credit card data, and it applies to any organization that handles those card payments, whether it's a bank, a retailer, an online store.
So PCI DSS is a must if you're processing any credit card transactions.
Exactly. And these are just a few examples. New regulations are popping up all the time as these cyber attacks get more frequent and sophisticated.
It sounds like navigating this whole regulatory landscape can be quite a challenge.
It can be, but it's essential. Non-compliance can lead to some pretty hefty fines, legal battles, and of course, reputational damage.
So it's not just about protecting data, it's about protecting the institution itself.
Absolutely, and that's a major reason why so many institutions are turning to cybersecurity solutions that are specifically designed to help them meet these requirements. They're looking for tools and technologies that can automate and streamline the whole compliance process.
It's about taking proactive steps, not just ticking boxes.
That's right.
Okay, so far, we've been talking about the big picture institutions, regulations. But what does all this mean for the average person? How can individuals manage their finances safely in this digital world?
Great question. Cybersecurity isn't just an enterprise issue, it's a personal one too. Everyone has a responsibility to protect their own data and their own finances.
So what can the average person do to stay safe?
A lot of the same principles we've discussed apply at the individual level too. Be careful with phishing emails, use strong, unique passwords for every online account, think before you download anything or visit a website. It's about being smart.
Being digitally street smart.
Exactly. And keep your software updated. Use strong passwords. And you might want to consider using a password manager to keep track of them all securely. Multi-factor authentication is also a great way to add an extra layer of security to your accounts.
So taking those extra steps, not just assuming someone else is taking care of your security.
Right. And if you ever suspect your data's been compromised, act quickly. Change your passwords, contact your bank or credit card company. Consider putting a fraud alert on your credit report.
Vigilance is key,
Mhm.
but knowing what to do if something goes wrong is just as important.
Absolutely. And remember, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Watch out for those unsolicited offers, get-rich-quick schemes, anything that seems even a little bit suspicious.
Right. Don't click on that link promising a free trip to Hawaii.
Exactly. Use common sense, be cautious, stay informed.
Okay, so we've armed our listeners with knowledge about the threats, the defenses, the personal responsibility we all share in this digital world. But there's one question that's been in the back of my mind throughout this whole discussion. What's the end game here? What are these hackers really trying to accomplish?
That's a really interesting question. On the surface, it seems like it's all about the money, extorting those ransoms, stealing financial data. But I think it goes a bit deeper than that.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
For some of these hackers, I think it's not just about financial gain, it's about power. It's about disrupting the financial system, causing chaos, and proving that they can infiltrate even the most secure institutions.
So it's almost like a form of digital terrorism.
In some cases, it could be viewed that way.
Yeah.
And as these attacks get more sophisticated, that potential for disruption just keeps growing.
That's a sobering thought. And it emphasizes the importance of cybersecurity, both at the institutional and individual level.
Absolutely. The stakes are higher than ever, and we all have a role to play in protecting ourselves and this digital world.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. But before we move on, I want to remind our listeners about Stonefly's commitment to providing innovative data protection and recovery solutions. We understand the challenges the financial industry faces, and we're dedicated to helping our customers navigate this complex cybersecurity landscape. If you want to learn more about how we can help you safeguard your valuable assets, reach out to us at sales@stonefly.com or visit our website at www.stonefly.com.
Our team of experts is ready to answer your questions and provide tailored solutions to meet your specific needs.
Excellent. Now let's dive into another aspect of this digital battleground.
You know, it's fascinating. We often prioritize the technical side of things when it comes to cybersecurity, firewalls, passwords, all that. But a crucial piece of the puzzle often gets overlooked, the human element.
Right. We touched on that earlier, the insider threat. How even the most secure system is vulnerable if someone clicks a phishing link.
Exactly. It's not enough to have the technology. Building a culture of security awareness within these financial institutions, that's really paramount. Every employee from the top down needs to understand the risks, follow best practices, and be able to spot potential threats.
So it's about having that security-conscious mindset, not just the technology itself.
Absolutely. Think of it this way. You could have the most impenetrable vault, but if the guard leaves the door open, what good is it? That's what happens when employees aren't trained. How to recognize phishing scams, good password practices, that kind of thing.
It's like those employee training videos they make you watch. But for cybersecurity.
Right. And it can't just be a one-time thing. Cybersecurity threats, they're constantly evolving, so ongoing education is key. Regular training sessions, simulations really put those skills to the test.
Like fire drills, but for cyber attacks.
Exactly. You need to test that incident response plan, make sure everyone knows what to do, that your backups are actually, restorable. Because with ransomware, every second counts.
Time is money, especially in finance. Okay, so we've got the technical solutions, the human element, that solid response plan. But what about regulations? Are there specific laws to protect financial institutions and their customers? You mentioned GDPR earlier. What other regulations are out there?
Well, in the U.S., we've got the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, or GLBA. This one deals specifically with data security in finance, requires institutions to protect the confidentiality and integrity of customer data.
So it's kind of like GDPR, but for the U.S.
Right. And then there's the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, PCI DSS. That one focuses on protecting, credit card data. Applies to any organization that handles those payments. Banks, retailers, online stores, all of them.
So if you're processing credit cards, PCI DSS is a must.
Exactly. And those are just a few examples. There are tons of regulations out there, and new ones are popping up all the time. As these cyber attacks get more complex, the laws have to try and keep up.
It sounds like a real challenge for financial institutions, trying to navigate all that.
It definitely can be, but it's essential. Non-compliance, that can lead to huge fines, legal battles, and, it hurts your reputation.
So it's not just about protecting the data, it's about protecting the whole institution.
Absolutely. And that's why, a lot of institutions are turning to solutions that can help them meet these requirements. Tools and technologies that can automate and streamline the compliance process.
So they can focus on what they do best.
Right. Now, we've been talking about the big picture, institutions and all that, but what about the individual? What can regular people do to keep their finances safe online?
Yeah, good point. Cybersecurity isn't just for big companies.
Right. It's personal, too. Everyone has a responsibility to protect themselves.
So any tips for our listeners? How can they stay safe in this digital Wild West, as they call it?
A lot of the same advice applies. Be careful about phishing emails,
Yeah.
Use strong passwords. And don't use the same password for everything. Really think before you download anything or visit a website.
It's like being street smart, but online.
Exactly. And keep your software updated. Those updates often include important security fixes. And if you can, consider using a password manager. I mean, who can remember all those complex passwords nowadays?
I know I can.
And multi-factor authentication, that's another great one. Adds that extra layer of security. Harder for hackers to get in, even if they do get your password.
So it's about taking those extra steps, not just assuming someone else is taking care of it.
Right. And if you think your data might be compromised, act fast. Change those passwords, contact your bank, maybe put a fraud alert on your credit report.
So stay vigilant, but know what to do if something does go wrong.
Exactly. And remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Those offers that sound amazing, get-rich-quick schemes, anything suspicious.
No clicking on that link for a free cruise.
Exactly. Trust your instincts. Be cautious. Stay informed.
Okay, great advice. So we've talked about threats, defenses, and personal responsibility. But one question keeps popping up in my mind. What's the big picture here? What are these hackers ultimately after?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? On the surface, it looks like it's all about money, right? Ransoms, stealing data. But I think there's more to it.
Go on. I'm all ears.
I think for some of these hackers, it's not just about financial gain. It's about power, disruption, causing chaos, proving that they can bring down these big institutions.
So like a form of digital terrorism.
In some cases, yeah, I think you could see it that way. And as these attacks get more sophisticated, that potential for disruption only grows.
It's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Really highlights the need for cybersecurity.
Absolutely, at every level. Individuals, institutions, everyone.
Okay, we've covered a lot today, but before we move on, I want to quickly mention Stonefly's commitment to, data protection and recovery. We offer a range of solutions designed specifically for the financial industry. We understand the challenges you're facing, and we're here to help. If you'd like to learn more, visit our website at www.stonefly.com or email us at sales@stonefly.com.
Our team is standing by to answer any questions and help you find the right solution for your needs.
Awesome. Now let's take a look at another side of this digital battleground.
It's remarkable how much the cybersecurity landscape has evolved just within the past few years. It's like we're in this constant arms race,
In what way?
Well, we used to think of cybersecurity as this purely technical thing. Build stronger firewalls, come up with those super complicated passwords, patch up the vulnerabilities, that's it. But now we're realizing it's so much bigger than that.
Right, like we've been saying, it's the human element, the regulations, the motives behind these attacks are changing. It's a whole different ballgame.
Exactly. And as the motives get more complex, well, our defenses have to keep up. We can't just be focused on protecting the systems and the data.
We have to be thinking about protecting institutions, economies, even democracies.
Precisely. In this interconnected world, you attack a financial institution, the ripples, they spread way beyond that initial target.
It's like a digital pandemic almost.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And it really highlights how important global cooperation is. Sharing information, working together to build stronger defenses.
Because no one country, no one organization can tackle this alone.
Exactly. It's got to be a collective effort, a shared commitment to cybersecurity at every level.
So looking ahead, what's the future of cybersecurity, especially in finance? Is there hope for, staying ahead of these evolving threats?
Well, I'm an optimist, so I do believe there's hope. But we need a real shift in our thinking. We can't just react to these attacks. Got to be more proactive, try to predict them.
So stop putting out fires, start preventing them.
Exactly. And that's where, some of these newer technologies come in. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, that kind of thing.
How so?
Well, they can analyze massive amounts of data, spot patterns, find those little anomalies that might signal an attack before it even happens.
So it's like having a crystal ball for cyber threats.
In a way, yeah. But it's not just predicting. It's about automating a lot of those routine security tasks so the human analysts can focus on the really complex stuff.
So we're talking about combining human intelligence with artificial intelligence.
Exactly. Create a security system that's dynamic, adaptable, that can keep pace with the threats as they change.
It sounds like cybersecurity is entering a whole new era. The line between the physical and digital worlds, it's getting blurry.
You got it. Because ultimately, cybersecurity, it's not just about protecting data, it's about protecting our way of life.
Protecting financial systems, critical infrastructure, freedoms.
Exactly. And that's why everyone needs to take it seriously. Institutions, individuals, we all play a role.
Well said. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up our deep dive into the world of ransomware and finance. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
I hope our listeners now have a better understanding of the threats, the defenses, and the responsibility we all share in this digital age. If you'd like to learn more about how Stonefly can help you strengthen your cybersecurity, protect those valuable assets, visit our website at www.stonefly.com or shoot us an email at sales@stonefly.com.
Our team is always happy to help.
A big thank you to our expert for joining us today. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to The Deep Dive. Until next time, stay vigilant and stay secure.